A mechanic from Gardenia Village was knocked down and killed last night on the Philip Goulston Highway. Hipólito Novello has that story.
45-year-old Dean Dawson Sr. is dead tonight. He was hit by a government vehicle after 11 o'clock last night as he was riding his bicycle between miles 22 and 23 of the Philip Goulston Highway. He was reportedly on the right side of the highway and heading to Crooked Tree Village. Dawson was hit by a burgundy Isuzu D-Max pickup, and in the driver's seat was 34-year-old Dorian Pickman, the director of the government press office.
He was heading from the direction of Orange Rock to Ladyville, and between the miles 22 and 23 in Biscayne, he observed a person riding a bicycle in the same direction who suddenly swerved into his lane. He tried his best to avoid a collision by swerving to his left also. However, he still collided into the cyclist.
What the officer commanding Ladyville Police, Inspector Juanito Cocom, shared is what Pickman told them. But the family has a hard time believing that version simply because tire impressions left on the highway indicates that Pickman was on the opposite side of the highway.
I was also notified by witnesses that the driver of the Isuzu D-Max pickup for the government press office, apparently he was overtaken and he was speeding, because there's no way, if he was not speeding, there's no way that that vehicle would have been damaged. It was the damage that vehicle had. It was like if they hit a cow, an animal, like a big animal. But Dean is a strong build, big build, right? He's not like, he's really strong and he's a big bone and he's a tall person. So he got really hit hard. And there's no way he could have survived those injuries that he sustained. So I'm just hoping that something will happen, because I know it's a government vehicle and you know how it is with government and whatnot.
All of that is being looked by the investigators. Remember, this happened last night, and the investigation is very young as we speak.
Based upon our observation, I counted 85 paces before that vehicle came to a stop. The tire impressions and the impressions of the vehicle trying to stop was there, which suggests that it must have been going at a very high speed.
All of that is of evidential value and will be presented at court. As the investigation unfolds, that apparently Mr. Dorian did not have the fault of the accident.
Well, how could you say that, sir, when you just a while ago said that your evidentiary value of the tire impressions and so on will be taken into account? How can you...
We will leave that for the court. We will leave all of that for the court. We will not expound on that here. This is not the forum for that.
Ma'am, I'm saying to you that the officer commanding Ladyville said today that Mr. Pickman is not at fault in this situation. How would you respond to that?
Well, I would be very unsatisfied, and he needs to do a thorough investigation, because we have witnesses, a pickup that was in front of the pickup that can testify that Mr. Pickman was indeed overtaken and he was indeed speeding.
Dawson Sr. was a mechanic.
Must have been going at a very high speed.
All of that is of evidential value and will be presented at court. As the investigation unfolds, that apparently Mr. Dorian did not have the fault of the accident.
Well, how could you...
It's very young as we speak.
A while ago said that your evidentiary value and so on will be taken into account. How can you...
We will leave all of that for the court. We will not expound on that here. This is not the forum for that.
Ma'am, I'm saying to you that the officer commanding...
We will leave that for the court. We will...
That Mr. Pickman is not at fault. Ladyville said today. How would you respond to that?
Well,
in this situation?
Right, and he needs to do a thorough investigation, because we have witnesses, a pickup that was in front of the pickup that can testify that Mr. Pickman was indeed overtaken and he was indeed...
Dawson Sr. was a mechanic.
Must have been going at a very...
All of that is of evidential value and will be presented at court. As the investigation, apparently Mr. Dorian unfolds, that did not have the fault of the accident. It's very young as we speak.
Well, how could you say that your evidentiary value...
Won't bring back Dean, but Dean left families, he left children, and he was working. He had a job, an 8 to 5 job, and right now he is only 45 years old, and retirement age at Belize is 55. So he had at least 10 more years ahead of him to work, and he worked so that he could provide for his children. So at the end of the day, who will compensate for those years that he will not be here? Taking care of funeral expenses, that doesn't cut it. I know it won't bring him back, but they need to show more compassion.
Reporting for Love News, Hipólito Novello.